If you have a loved one nearing the end of their life, maybe they're just getting old, maybe they've been ill for some time, and maybe they've already been moved to hospice. If so, you're really going to want to hear the information in this video because we're going to be talking about the near-death experience and deathbed visions. So stay tuned. Hi everyone, I'm Diana Palm from DianaPalm.com. I'm a medium and a spiritual healer, and I work with people in the process of transition and on the other side every day of my life. So what I'm going to share with you is meant to bring you some peace and comfort, but it's based on real life experience. I was born a medium, and because of that worked with the spirit world and with people who needed to heal their grief, reconnect with loved ones. I have also worked hospice for 2 years as a volunteer and sitting bedside in hospice with those that are about to transition and leave the earthly plane. In my 2 years of hospice work, I had some really incredible opportunities to work with people to help them resolve some of the things that they felt were unfinished in their lives. And just through conversation and knowing what to say, help bring peace to them in areas where they may have been holding on to rejection, regret, resentment, some of the things that actually can prevent a soul from crossing over and going to heaven after they pass. So when I was assigned to work with hospice people, oftentimes I would just sit there and listen to them. Sometimes I would read them stories. Some people preferred if I read from the Bible. Sometimes I just brush their hair or rub their feet. My primary role was to provide comfort and companionship in the final days of their life. Sometimes I would have the opportunity to work with people who literally spent more time in the astral plane than they did in their physical body. And what I mean by that is as we're nearing the end of our life, especially through old age or illness, we actually do leave our body quite often. Our spirit leaves our body and enters the spirit world. When a spirit has near-death awareness and knows that the end is approaching, it becomes easier for their spirit to leave the body and visit the astral plane and kind of fine-tune things on the other side, making preparations for this journey of leaving the physical into the spiritual. At this time, when a spirit is doing that, they're often communicating with their loved ones who have passed before them. Now, this is why when they come back into their body, they may be speaking out loud to their family or the nursing staff and telling them about these vibrant, wonderful conversations they just had with people that are dead. This is a very real experience that they are having. Sometimes people think that their relative or loved one is hallucinating at this point, but I want to let you know that it is not a hallucination. On many occasions, I had the opportunity to sit next to somebody in this phase of their life, and when I noticed that they were leaving their body, I would get my own connection with the spirit world and tune into where they were at so that I could look around and see what they were doing. And this ability allowed me to see that they were really joyous on the other side, and many times they actually went back to childhood memories. They showed themselves as being young, playing on the playground with their school friends. They were sometimes at settings that looked like family holidays, gathered around them with all the loved ones who passed before them. When a spirit is leaving the body in this phase of their life, it can often look like they're just shutting down. And there may be momentary lapses. It may be a few seconds, it could be a couple minutes, and in some cases it could last for a much longer period of time. But what it looks like is the eyes go flat. They may still be open, but there's no light within them. And oftentimes the body will slump or become very still, and they will not be responsive as you talk to them. Now, during this time, it is not a harmful state. They are not in any pain, and they're not having any kind of episode. What's actually happening is the spirit has left the vessel. And this is when they're out there amongst all their loved ones in the spirit world, visiting and preparing things for themselves on the other side. When they are called back into their body, immediately the light in their eyes is restored and they begin to function again, move around, and be able to pick up conversation often where it left off before the episode started. This can be a little frightening for relatives to see that their loved one is going through this if they don't understand what's actually happening. I was assigned a really sweet older woman who was actually 103 years old. Once when I arrived to visit, she was sound asleep. And I almost thought, maybe I shouldn't disrupt her today, maybe I should go home. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, why don't I just go ahead and connect with her on the astral plane so that I can communicate with her that way and at least keep her company with where she was at. Immediately when I got my connection with her, I could see that her entire bed was surrounded by all of her family and friends that had passed before her. And in her case, because of her age, that was a lot of people surrounding her bed and filling the hospice room. I could literally see in her genetic coding that she had nothing left to do. She had no one left to forgive. She had no unfinished business. She had lived a good, clean life and really healed as she went, and her soul was really ready to go. So I simply asked her by sending her the mental message, what is keeping you here? Why haven't you left? And you know what she said to me? I don't know when the right time is. And that's all it took. I expressed to her that I could see all her loved ones around the bed, that they were gathered, that they were waiting for her, and she knew that they were there as well. She just almost needed permission to go. When I came back to visit her the very next week, she had already passed peacefully. So a lot of times when you're working with people at the end of life, they are very, very aware of all their loved ones that are coming for them. In fact, we start off as young children being able to see the spirit world. Many times we lose our abilities around the age of 3 or 4. And unless we purposefully stay open or do something to jar our soul open and have experiences all throughout our life, we typically lose these abilities to connect with the spirit world until the very end of life, which means our deathbed. And that's when we have visions of our loved ones. We can see this beautiful light that's coming for us. And in many cases, we're able to sense our upcoming departure. In fact, it is really common for people that are nearing the end of life to talk about going on a trip, to get very anxious. They may want to pack luggage. They may start buying things to take on their trip with them. It may be new clothes, sample size shampoos. They may start making preparations as if they're going on holiday, when really their spirit has the impending feeling that it's time for them to go. And what that means is to the other side. It's time for them to leave the physical body and go to heaven. So trips are very common. Seeing loved ones in their room all around them at the end of life is very, very common. If you have an elderly or ill relative or loved one that is talking about seeing people from the past or seeing their loved ones that have died before them, please know that this is an authentic, real experience. It is very natural, and it is a part of our death process. So if you're lucky enough to be near somebody who's having these wonderful soul-opening experiences, it can be extremely healing. Rather than shutting it down and telling them that it doesn't exist, or they're crazy, or they're hallucinating, or it's the medication, it doesn't hurt for you to just sit and listen to them and listen to their stories and listen to these beautiful connections that they're making with people that they've been missing for so long. There's a lot of healing that comes from this unwinding process at the end of life. It's a very sacred time to be able to spend with someone you love. It is also very common for them to have very vivid memories of childhood friends, things that they may not have thought about in 50 or 60 years, and suddenly this time frame becomes very important to them. Often what that means is these friends are probably in spirit as well, and they're the first to come and greet their friend to bring them to the other side. Because your loved ones, they always greet you and they bring you to the other side. You're usually accompanied by an angel, a very, very close family member, or a spirit guide when you transition and die. And you're brought into the light where then you can see all of your friends. And if you'd like to know more about the other side, or what we call heaven, then I invite you to watch my other video in the After Death Communication series on what heaven looks like. I want to thank you all for being here and just knowing that all of us are going to go through this at some point. I hope that I was able to provide some understanding about the other side and the process of near death and transition. And I want to thank you for being with me here today. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.